He may have been laughed off as the Aquaman parody who is powerless out of water, but could the Deep be more powerful than we think? The Boys has gone on to be one of the most viewed shows on Amazon Prime, and with season 2 on the way, and a 3rd season confirmed, it's easy to see why The Boys is so popular. Based off of the comic book series, The Boys centers around an alternate world filled with duplicitous superheroes, with the primary antagonists coming from the Seven, a parody of DC's Justice League. While the deeply disturbed Homelander may be seen as the most powerful member of the Seven, could there be another member that's more powerful than we think? The Deep is one of the most complex characters, with one of the most controversial scenes taking place in the first episode. The character goes through a bizarre arc, his mental condition spiraling out of control, and even taking part in a bizarre and hilarious dolphin extraction mission. While he is often laughed off as a knockoff Aquaman, there may be more to the character than meets the eye. In this video, we'll take a look at the character and see how he is more powerful than we give him credit for. Featuring sneak peeks from Season 2, comic book abilities yet to be explored, and words from the actor Chase Crawford himself, we'll look at the Deep and the unpopular opinion that he is the most underestimated member of the Seven. So hold your breaths as we take a deep dive into the depths of the Deep. So let's start with the obvious. The Deep has the powers to telepathically communicate with marine life. We see this in a hilarious scene where the Deep breaks a dolphin out of ocean world before he accidentally sends the dolphin flying to its gory, over-the-top death after the Deep slams too hard on the brakes. But while we have seen his powers used for comic relief, we are yet to see his full range and just how far he can go with his dominion over aquatic creatures. It's no secret that the Deep is a parody of DC's hero Aquaman, with him wearing similar attire as well as obviously having similar powers and being a water-based hero. While there have also been jokes made at Aquaman's expense and the range of his capabilities, the character does have an awesome amount of power, and his badass status has been refreshed since Jason Momoa took the part, because Jason Momoa can make Peppa Pig look like the Terminator. In the movie, we see some epic moments, including an underwater war, his and Mara's escape from the trench, as well as a rematch against Ocean Master. But it isn't just the movie that has awesome moments for the character. In the comics, we see Aquaman have some badass moments, such as summoning a living seaquake, stabbing Darkseid in the heart with a trident, and even summoning zombie sharks. If the Deep is a relative carbon copy of Aquaman, it is highly possible that we could see him having similar abilities. There's also not much that is outside the realm of possibility in the world of The Boys, and I am not going to rule out zombie sharks at all. As mentioned before, The Boys never really went into depth about his powers, yeah, okay, last time I do that. And we can really see him flexing his sea muscles in the upcoming seasons. An indication that this will happen is a promo clip for Season 2, where we see the Deep rocking his new hairdo, chasing down Huey, Butcher, and the rest of the Boys as they try to escape on a boat. Firstly, the Deep sends a pack of sharks to hunt down the Boys, who desperately speed away to escape, and as abilities go, sending a horde of sharks after someone is definitely an awesome power. Although sharks may not be able to do much against someone like Homelander, it could definitely give other supes a run for their money. At the end of the clip, we see the Deep emerge on the back of what seems to be a humpback whale. Apologies to any whale experts watching, as he goes to block off the boat, and to be fair, it is a pretty awesome entrance. Imagine turning up to prom on the back of a whale. Yeah. Maybe my date wouldn't have dumped me if I had a whale. Anyway, it backfires pretty badly for the Deep, as in the Boys' typical bloody and gory fashion, the boat brutally impaled the whale, killing it and sending the Deep flying. While this instance may have backfired, it's highly likely that we'll see more of what the Deep can do, and whether he can control more than just marine animals, but the sea itself. But unfortunately, that part is just conjecture at this point, and there is nothing in the comic books that states the Deep has that power. Although, there are powers from the comic book we are yet to see, but more on that later. One thing that we are very likely to see are some underwater battles, rampages, along with this promo scene that really explores the Deep's strength. We may also see his super fast swimming skills come into play, but unless he's battling against Michael Phelps, that might not be so helpful.
Oh, tell me about it.
We may all know about his abilities over marine creatures, but what we are really yet to see are his other abilities, some of which he possesses in the show, and some that may only exist in the comics. As we've mentioned numerous times already, we are yet to see the full scope of the Deep's powers, with him only dealing with the broad range of water crime and conversing with dolphins. But the comic book version has more power than we are yet to see in the Amazon version. First and foremost is that the Deep possesses superhuman strength. He is stronger than the average person and could easily make short work of Butcher and the rest of the boys in a physical confrontation, and judging by actor Chase Crawford's physique in the show, it is highly possible that he shares these abilities. In the comics, the Deep is often used as a physical force in fights as opposed to just dealing with water crime, and easily handles himself alongside his fellow Seven members. Although, Homelander actor Anthony Starr hinted that Black Noir is going to go off this season, so we have that to look forward to. This could make him much more of a sinister threat in a fistfight, as well as making his past behavior even more concerning. But not only does the character hold super strength, he is also less vulnerable to physical damage than the regular human. His skin may not be borderline indestructible like translucent, but in the comics, the character has enhanced durability, meaning that he can take more of a beating than your average Joe. Just like Homer Simpson in a boxing ring. In fact, there have been a few instances in the comics where he has experienced what would cause lots of physical harm on a normal person, but he was left relatively unscathed. It's unclear whether the Deep in the show will also have this ability, and judging by how easily he got knocked over by the boat, maybe he isn't quite the tough guy that he is in the comics. Another power that he has in the comics, but is much less likely to appear in the show, is the power of flight, along with the other members of the Seven. That's right, you may have seen a housefly, even a superfly, but I bet you ain't never seen a deep fly. You're probably wondering how his aquatic abilities fit in with flying, and to be honest, they don't. But if the show wants to stay closer to the comics, they could introduce this ability, as they haven't strictly stated that he can't fly. Although the show has veered off in a lot of ways from the comic book character. First and foremost, the character in the comic books is of African descent and constantly wears a nautical helmet due to the Atlantean curse. So yeah, there's that. But speaking of Atlantean, could we see more of a connection with them in the upcoming seasons? If they really want to go down the Aquaman route, they could send the Deep down to Atlantis and maybe connect with Atlanteans, huh? But again, that's just me going off baseless tangents. One thing that could definitely happen, that would be similar to the comics, is the Deep going off and starting his own gang of supers, the True. At the risk of spoilers, I'm not going to go into detail about the True, but in the comics, the Deep goes off and joins a newly emerged superhero group, the True. In the show, we see the Deep's future with the Seven questionable at best, with him teetering on the edge. So it's highly possible that he is finally pushed off that edge and goes and joins a new team of supes. If so, they could potentially be a threat to Homelander and co., especially if they have supervillains and the boys to contend with.
I can talk to fish, so what?
It's not just the Deep's abilities that make him powerful and dangerous, but his personality and his decline into relative insanity. In the first episode, we see, in one of the show's most controversial scenes, the Deep sexually assaulting new Seven recruit Starlight in order to exude power over her. He then proceeds to tell Starlight he is Homelander's number 2, something that is shown to be a lie, and that he can make Starlight's life very hard if she fails to conform. This scene is actually very different from the comics, with the Deep not even being a part of the assault, with him being less morally ambiguous as his counterparts. And it's actually A-Train, Homelander, and Black Noir that assault Starlight. But as we know, the Deep in the show is very different from that of the comics, and this opening scene tells us that straight off the bat. His vulgar actions are also shown in a string of deleted scenes that are extremely uncomfortable, including a creepy scene of him teaching CPR to lifeguards. The Deep is not afraid to try and get what he wants, and he is power hungry. He's also not afraid to do horrible things to get what he wants. And with him wanting power, Homelander's seat at the Seven's table would be the ultimate representation of a power move. What's more, the Deep doesn't follow a conventional redemptive arc after the assault. Instead, we see him go down a bizarre dolphin-filled path which showcases his complex morals and vast insecurities. Like Homelander, he is fueled by these moral gray zones. He's reckless, impulsive, and driven by his insecurities, and he has the abilities to really do some damage. Crawford himself said that the character's mental state is what makes him potentially so dangerous, so it's easy to imagine that one day he will really snap and have enough of being the Seven's kicking toy and strike back. And I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to take down Homelander and become Kingpin, but a reminder that that's just a random tangent and not a validated theory. And while he may be an Aquaman parody, could he become the show's Joker, an evil and maniacal villain intent on taking down the Golden Boy? As the Joker says, you only only need one bad day after all. The last time we saw Deep, he had just been shipped off to Hell on Earth, aka Sandusky, Ohio, and in the middle of a nervous breakdown after some really uncomfortable guilt touching. If he has lost all his inhibitions and with nothing to lose, how far could he go down his path of insanity? He has been, for lack of a better term, a bad boy from the start, and it makes sense that he could go full villain level as the show progresses. This would be a great character arc, but as I said a million times, just a random tangent. But the Deep's mental status will definitely make him a more unpredictable and dangerous individual. Or will he finally find validation and come to terms with his identity, letting go of his insecurities and finally feeling inner peace? Man, that's deep. Huh? Yeah, I lied earlier.
Let's give him a big thank you. What do you say?
What do you think Season 2 has in store for the Deep? Which is your favorite character? Which power would you want? Let us know in the comments below and make sure you subscribe for more boys content. See ya!